Why do I need this grid thing when I already have an Ableton Push 2? You know, if I would say you don't need it. All right, so for months I've been wondering if the Roli blocks are worth it, because on the surface they look pretty cool. You got this cool Seaboard thing where you can like hit a note and slide around, and it's got this 5-dimensional control thing going on. And then they have this light block, I'll do close-ups in a second, where you can control everything in this kind of 5-dimensional way. So, you know, you have your actual note, you have how hard you hit the note, you have aftertouch, you have the ability to slide left and right, and then with the keyboard, you can hit a note and you can do vibrato by wiggling your finger, you can slide up and down to change the tonality of the note, and then pressure and velocity and stuff like that. So it's a ton of control on the surface. So I wanted to buy these things. I purchased these things a couple days ago for a Black Friday sale with my own money. No affiliate link for them, although I might find an Amazon affiliate link and throw that in the description if you want them. But for Black Friday, they were a killer deal. This was like, I don't know, 30% off or something like that. So I jumped on it. And this is going to be my first impressions and demo of Roli Blocks. Alright, so for now, this is the angle we're going to take a look. I'll give you some different angles throughout this video, but I think this is a good way to show you how things work. So this keyboard, the Seaboard block, as they call it, is this kind of rubbery membrane surface. So you can hit a note and just slide along. You can also hit a note and go up and down. And depending on the preset you have loaded, will change the actual tonality of the sound. So if I select something different in live, it's got aftertouch, it's got the sliding thing, you can change notes, and that's great. Now, I do have a few complaints with this, very minor things in the grand scheme of things. But first of all is that when you hit a note and do the slide, you end up pushing the damn thing all over the place. So I don't know if they have a case that solves that problem or if maybe it's just my table, but I found that to be kind of annoying. Now, another thing that annoyed me at first, which less so now, but the USB jack is on the side. And as you can see, this thing flickered over here, and that's because these are actually magnetically connected, which is pretty cool because you can just drop it like that, and you can put it on any side except for this bottom surface. Now, I wish they would have put the USB connector on the top, because in terms of how it sits on your desk, it just makes more sense, especially since when it's plugged in, you can't put anything on this side. And also for this, it was a little annoying at first because I thought the thing that says blocks should be facing me, which made it so that either the button was enclosed or the USB was enclosed. When I first had this in, I had it snapped here, which meant that you couldn't charge it while using it. And then I just realized, okay, flip it upside down, and it automatically figures out which way is up and which way is down, which is great. So that was a minor annoyance that kind of solved itself, but I still wish they put that jack up here. In terms of this surface on the Seaboard block, there feels nice, it feels rugged, but the problem is it's something with the finish or something with the coating. I don't know if I just have dirty fingers or something, but it's constantly getting smeared as I move around. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's all these like marked and stuff. It didn't ship like that. That was just like, I keep playing it and it's like dead skin just peels off and goes on it, which sounds pretty gross, but you know, that's what it is. In terms of how it works, it's pretty easy to get used to how things play. When you hit a note, it kind of auto locks onto the note at first. Even though I'm hitting it all around, it figures out I'm trying to hit that note. And then after you hit it is when you can kind of do the wobble or slide around. So it figures out what you're trying to do, which is just, you know, super convenient. Now when it comes to this block, it's probably, in terms of how it performs, one of the best parts. Like there's none of those weird issues with like the coloration, dead skin cells, and the moving around and stuff. You can slide just like on this, but the surface is more slippery, it feels tougher, and I don't find it getting pushed around as much as with this. Maybe I can adjust the sensitivity or something, and that'll help. So there was a feature of this I originally didn't really care about that much, and it's that these things have Bluetooth. It was cool when I first took these out of the box because I wasn't upstairs or here with my computer. I was sitting in the family room, and I knew it had Bluetooth and an app, so I downloaded this app, and then my phone made it to these to these controllers, and I can just start making music on my freaking phone. It's got 4 different tracks, and you can like record loops and then mix things together. You can change your instruments and sounds and stuff, and it works pretty well. Now, this kind of exposed issues with their Bluetooth. I don't know if it's an issue with them or if it's an issue with general MIDI Bluetooth control and it being hard to do for a phone. Now, I have a pretty good phone. It's a Galaxy Note 9, so, you know, not the newest, but pretty damn good. And it was struggling to stay live. Now, when you smacked a note or smacked a drum or something, it happened instantly, but I noticed if I was playing multiple things, I would start getting dropouts or I would start having extra notes get triggered. And that was also the same case when I was doing Bluetooth to the computer. So it seems like it's a Bluetooth thing and not the fault of my phone, but it could be the fault of Roli's implementation of Bluetooth. I have a feeling it's just limitations of Bluetooth as a whole. But that being said, having a way to make music on your phone on the fly via Bluetooth is frickin' great, and it's super convenient. So, you know, good feature. We're going to focus on the computer part of this for a second because I think the software it comes with is one of the best parts. When you get these, I forget if it's both of them or just one, but you actually get a whole bunch of sounds that you can play with. And you get this insanely powerful VST plugin that combines them all together and lets you control what this controls relative to this. And there's a separate standalone app that you can like MIDI map everything and control how this performs as well. And then in addition to that, you also, I think it's with the Light Block, you get, I think, Ableton Live Lite, and you also get a 3-month subscription to Max MSP. I forget what it stands for, but it's the Max for Live kind of thing, just as a separate software. So if you don't have any music stuff and you're getting into music production, getting these could be one of the best ways to get into it. In the past, I said getting a machine would be the cheapest way to get into it at like $400. Getting 1 or 2 of these could be roughly the same price point, but you get Ableton Live and all these sounds. So this is a very worthwhile consideration if you have no gear whatsoever. You can get a MIDI controller, a very basic DAW, but one that will let you jump into the full version later, and you get a whole bunch of sounds. So it's a pretty sweet package. So taking a look at this app here, it's called the Roli Studio Player. Basically, it just combines a bunch of their different engines in here. So if I go into this big thing, they have 3 different engines: Equator, Strobe 2, and Cypher 2. And you can sort through all the different sounds, or you can narrow them down to like analog, brass, and find your sound. And that's all well and good. Now, if I go back to this control thing, if I have a note, see how that's how it's basically set up to do controls. But if I want, I can select this, click my light block, and now all of a sudden, I can control each of these parameters on screen independently. Click this, and all of a sudden I control this other one. So this is where the 5D thing starts to turn into more like 7 or 8D, depending on what you can do at the same time. And there's ways, I think it was with this audio effects thing, if I make this audio effects thing the controller, then I turn it on, now you get this view, but there's a way to click multi here, and now I get all of them. So I can hold a note, and I have 3Ds of control just here alone. And in fact, each of these dimensions are kind of like 2D in themselves, because you have like cutoff and resonance here, then you have drive and cutoff there. So you're really controlling like 8 degrees of freedom here, along with the 5 or whatever it is that goes along with the pad. So incredibly powerful thing. Now, what I found myself doing the most is, you know, if you're doing this live, this is fantastic. For me, that's not really the end goal. What I like to do is use these tools to kind of loop on top of each other. So in Ableton Live, you can do a loop record and overlay your MIDI with additional layers of automation on the fly. You can really do this in any DAW, but in Ableton, that's how you do it. And so I go through my parts and do all the automation that I can play, and I can go back and control all these little lanes of automation built into that app on the fly. And it's just a super convenient way of doing all of that automation. You could set that all up manually, but in terms of this app, it just makes it so much less time consuming. And I think that's really where this thing performs the best. This setup and the blocks in general is it's a time saver, and it makes you do things in a new way you would have never thought to do, which ultimately leads to new, better, more exciting music you would have never made. By the way, if you want a shirt, they're on sale. Links in the description. Now, the software isn't perfect. If you have that VST app loaded and you're trying to do it on the main regular standalone software, things can get a little funky because there's a control issue. The standalone app wants to control everything, but the VST app also wants to as well. So this, I've closed Ableton Live, and I'm going to show you the standalone software. And this is where you can really get into the nitty-gritty. I have this edit window open. I can say exactly what kind of MIDI protocol I want to use, select the bass note, select the grid size. So in this case, the mode I'm in, I can't, but there is a way that you can get this to be a 5x5 grid instead. And you can also make it smaller in this case, so 3x3. You can go down to 2x2. You can also just have it be a standalone thing, which, I guess that's pretty cool. So typically I do 4x4. If you go over here, you can control the MIDI start and end channel. This is if you want to do multiple things at once. So if you want to do drums with one hand on this, and then you want to do some kind of keyboard synth thing on that, it works totally fine if you can pull it off. It's kind of tricky. And then you have all these detailed controls for gliding and slide CC numbers and different colors and other parameters. So very flexible. Now when it comes to the actual Seaboard, it's the same kind of deal. You get your MIDI start, MIDI end, you get octaves, and you get start notes and different sensitivity levels, and it's very, very powerful. So taking a closer look at this, you see that when I unplug this, I really just pull it off. And this is done with a magnet connector, so if I can get a good view of this on screen, this is the USB Type-C, and these are these little magnet connectors. So these snap the two units together, and they provide kind of like a routing for power and data. So when this is plugged in, it's connected through the USB, through the Seaboard into my Mac. So it's super convenient. And then if you keep stacking these, you don't have to have a USB plug for all of them. They just route through each other in a very seamless, almost instantaneous way. Like, look, not connected, connected, not connected, connected. And it's almost instant, which is incredible, because if something like this took 30 seconds, it'd be kind of annoying, because I found a couple times I wanted to move this around and I might accidentally pick it up and it loses connection, and that would be incredibly annoying. So I'm very glad that everything's very snappy. There's a couple fun things when it comes to the Lightpad, and this is in this apps window here. So you can turn your window into faders, and this, I haven't set this up in my actual DAW, but this allows you to actually control different tracks. So you have like a volume level thing here. Now there's also a couple of games which I found pretty fun. I'll try to grab this. Blocks faders. So 0, 0, tap it, counts down, and you get this kind of I forget what this game's called, but it's like an old arcade game, and you can play it. You also have break blocks. Aside from that, you have built-in apps for like Ableton Live, GarageBand, Logic, Melodics, which is kind of like a MIDI controller training thing, and then a couple of other apps that I don't really know. XYZ, so you can have a XYZ controller. So if you want to turn these off, they have these Bluetooth Connect, which also double functions as an off button. You just hold it down until the light goes off, and the unit's off. So here's kind of a close-up view what I meant by the skin buildup that can happen. Keep in mind, I've been playing with this for less than 2 hours, and it already gets some buildup, so I think if you get this, you're going to want to make sure you wipe it down on a daily basis, maybe with a wet cloth every couple of weeks or something. Roli probably has some kind of maintenance guide for this, because problem with rubbery surfaces that are stretchy, they never last as long as hard things. I'm sure eventually this will wear down and tear. Hopefully it lasts a couple years, but that's kind of an inherent flaw of a material like this. So here you see the USB-C and that kind of magnet snap connector. And then yeah, that's really all there is to the unit. It feels very solid. It's got some weight to it. There's probably a weight on the actual website, but the block, the Lightpad block is what I was most impressed with in terms of like build quality. The surface is super squishy and hard. It feels very hefty. I mean, not to say the Seaboard doesn't, but you know, these two units they feel very rugged, which is reassuring, especially considering the pretty low price point, all things considered. I mean, this thing I think is $200, at least that's what I paid for it, but the build quality is there in both of these, which is very good. So yeah, I'm super excited to play around more with this. As I said, I've had a couple hours with these so far, and I'm pretty happy. Some of their other blocks seem a little useless to me, unless you're into the live performance thing, because then there's more buttons you can use to control. But as someone who has the Ableton Push 2, those things seem irrelevant. And even these, when I was first looking at them, I was like, why do I need this grid thing when I already have an Ableton Push 2? If I would say you don't need it, but if you want different ways to play with your sound, different interface, different software, then this offers a very unique way of doing it. So if any of you watching have either of these or any of their stuff, I'd love to know in the comments. Let me know what you think of them, and if there's any other products that you think that I would like, because I'd love to check them out, especially while the Cyber Monday steals are still going on. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, there's another video going to be linked here that you'll probably like based on YouTube's recommendations. And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye.